Hey, do you believe nowadays that sketching is still relevant for architects, designers, and so on? I mean, we have 3D modeling software with real-time render engines. Soon we will have 3D modeling software with real-time render engines paired with AI, which can generate your photorealistic renderings in no time, out of the box, imagery and animation. I believe in a few years, maybe even in a few months, the count of render companies will drastically drop because they will run out of work. We even had already worked with a render company just recently who sent us Midjourney images, and I felt like, why should we pay these companies? They are not. We can do our own Midjourney. We can write our own Midjourney text, and even clients came to us with a picture, with a Midjourney generated image, and said that's what they want. And it's disturbing. Of course, I always try to see the good side in it, because what it will happen is that everybody will generate these images. They will all look the same at some point. They will all look similar, with a similar kind of style and feel, and then you will see, then it will separate the good from the bad and the ugly, and you will see what is real design and what is not. Again, which I think is good. The question for you is on which side you're gonna be. Are you gonna be on the side of just generating pointless images which look great but they have no backbone and no story whatsoever? Or do you actually design things? And we're not yet there where AI can actually design your space. We're not yet there. If you ask ChatGPT serious questions, or any of these chatbots, they make so many mistakes that you can't really trust what they telling you. They can write maybe a nice text and you can fix it and you can check what's correct, what is not, but there's a lot of mistakes and you can't trust yet what they're gonna tell you. And with design, it's the same. You don't think that generating an image from AI will give you a design. It will give you a nice image. It's all what it does. But there's no thought process in it, and that's where the sketching will actually help you, because sketching is not about generating an image. It's about the thought process during the sketching, which actually helps you to design a space, or to design anything really. Or I know people, they sketch their thought process into Grasshopper, to how they're thinking about this script should work. So that's why I want to go back to our project, and I want to sketch, and I want to explain you my thought process, and it's a relevant tool to actually design something. Before we jump in, I need to do some shout out for new members and returning members. All right, we have just joined 10 days ago. Tum Chun Hao, I hope I say it correctly. Thum Chun Hao? No, I think it's Tum Chun Hao. Tum Chun Hao, very anonymous, no subscribers. More about this channel, let's see. Joined in January 7, 2012. That's all we know. But we know he joined as a member. That means he's supporting my channel. Thank you, Tum Chun Hao, for joining and supporting my channel. Please reach out if you have any questions. You can always send me. And we also have Emad Adli rejoined. He rejoined 3 days ago. I rejoined members. It's always a very nice, good sign for me, of course, because it means I did something right in the past, and that's why a member decided to rejoin again, and I'm very grateful for that. And of course, for all the other people who supporting this video, 16 months, Rafael F. Giaretta, David Semenisin, RR, some people changing their names and then I don't recognize it anymore. Lavo, Scott, Northcutt, Edwin Gonzalez, Jana Tip V. Oh, I need to check it out. Okay, so I forgot. But yeah, today, I mean, we have the technology to translate stuff very easy. And I know it's Korean because I can, of course, recognize this Mintosaurus. Yes, Mintsaurus. I like it. Okay, Mintsaurus, 3 months. Green Aroma, cool name. Manuel Körner, Carolina Ventura. By the way, reminds me of Ace Ventura. Du Tubinger. And then, yes, we have Thumb Tum Jun Hao and Imad Adli. Thanks, guys. Highly appreciate it. Merry Christmas, by the way. In one of the next videos, I will produce more. This previous months were really tough. I was very busy, but I have a bit of now during the coming holidays. I will produce a few more videos. So watch the space. Yeah, as you hopefully remember, this was the sketch we did out of the project we're working on in Rwanda, where I explain about ladybug tools. We will continue with the ladybug tools very soon, but I need to have a model now first. We have this massing here, which actually is not relevant anymore. There is some massing on the side, I believe, but I don't have enough information about that. So I will just get rid of all of this. And you can see here, there's something here. We might be able to reuse that probably, or there's probably a way to reuse that. But in this video, it's all about the thinking process to design the space. And yes, we did the sketch. And maybe you remember I used this bubble diagram to come up with a zoning, and then I sketched over this very first kind of idea of how this land could be used. And I also had an idea about I was inspired by the traditional architecture of the area and how they're organizing the space, how they kind of separate different zones from semi-public, public to very private areas. And that was an inspiration for me. And I was thinking, why to have this like row houses and things if there's something very, it's a very unique kind of way to build, and maybe we can reuse that. I'm not saying this is the most cheapest way to do it, and probably there are other ways, probably easier ways to build, but I felt it's appropriate, and maybe there's a chance. And I'm still in the world where I can dream about what there might be. And I was looking up different projects. I thought maybe I'm completely wrong, but then I found this one. This is the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture, and they had a similar idea for their main building, and it's quite interesting. So I'm not the only one who thinks about this kind of traditional. I mean, they have a lot of row houses, of course, but this, for me, it's a very similar idea as I had during my plan sketch. Now, we will not do a plan sketch this time. What I like to do, which makes you think even harder, is Axo. But an Axo done right will, first of all, help you with the design. It will start to tell a story, not just an idea. There's a story, and you will think about the story more. So the difference between, a concept. Let's say a concept. The difference between an idea and a concept is the what if question. So you can have an idea and say, oh, I want to build a circular architecture in Rwanda as my main building for a farm. That's an idea, but it's not a concept yet. The concept is because what if questions will trigger more what if questions. So what if my architecture is not straight but circular? What happens then? And what if that creates an inner heart, a circular heart, people come together? And what if, and so on, so that's starting to be a concept and a story. In this exercise, I will not draw a plan, and I will not draw a perspective. I will draw an axo. The reason is the axo, although yes, it has a certain direction. It's taken from a certain direction, and you can of course draw more than one. But what it does, it forces you to think about each space equally, and it will not favor a different area. It will not favor a different area just because it's in front of you. So there will be bits which are gonna be hidden, but we can choose the right angle, of course. What I'm trying to do probably is have something where I max out the space, but I also look at the side which is the most appropriate. It feels like this is the right angle for me. And as an axo, I think could work very well. But as you can see, the importance of that space on the top has equal weight as the one in the front. There is no distortion of the camera happening. And that's why it's very good. It's a very good method of sketching. First of all, it makes you think harder because you need to think in 3D and you need to come up with things. And ideally you need to try to be fast. Speed will come on its own. The more I sketch, the faster you will be, and same with like learning an instrument, speed will come on its own. But yeah, let's jump right in. What I will do here, I will actually overlay the plan I drew. I have the luxury that I have a plan. I can overlay it. It doesn't mean that I will stick completely to it, but it gives me a bit of a understanding of the size of the spaces. Normally what I would do in that case, if I have nothing, I would have at least probably put a line somewhere with the height of a human. That would give me an understanding of the size of the space. That's often enough, but because I have my plan, I can overlay that on top of it. Let's do that. All right, so I will just save this, save as. I will use this. I will just hide all the rest so we can work with this alone. We put this in a new layer, probably is the best. Or maybe, well, let's make a copy. Sorry for the naming. I'm not always the best with this, but yeah, we just duplicate this here. Duplicate. No, copy objects to layer. Okay, and then we can turn off this. So now we have our site, only the site. Can give it a material, assign texture. Okay, interesting. Why it doesn't show? Okay, use layer. Okay, yes. Now we already have. Now we just need to just try to fix it so it fits our our size. I'm looking forward to Rhino 8 because in Rhino 8 it seems like they did a lot of improvements on that. So yeah. Thinking of maybe what I should do is limit this a bit, then it makes it much easier. It's gonna be much easier for us. So limit this here, save as, okay, JPEG. Okay, now we gonna go back here and material by layer, that's fine. Because now what we can do is we can actually take this and just roughly apply this as we had it, as we cut it out from Photoshop, and that will actually help us to put it. It's almost already there, as you can see. And now what we can do, because this is X, Y, and Z, I think I need to stretch it slightly. I can still move it a bit. This is slightly too big. No. I think it's pretty good. I think we can use this as a starting point. Now we do the same as with what we did last time. Viewport, capture to clipboard. View, capture. There's view and there's screen. View, capture, clipboard. This gives us the option to actually change the resolution. This gives us the option to change the resolution, remember. And I think 5760 is good. It's gonna be a very detailed sketch. Okay, all right. I use this. Now I can go back in Photoshop. Photoshop already recognizes. And by the way, yes, somebody wrote, "Oh, you use Photoshop, I'm out of here." It's up to you. Photoshop is still very good as a sketching program. It's industry standard. I also like to use Affinity, but in that case, it doesn't really matter. You can use Affinity, GIMP, Krita, Photoshop. It doesn't really matter. It's all of them are relevant, and there's no secret sauce or whatever. So you can use any of these. I don't have super special setups. It's all in the hand. Can place this here. Now you see we have this very strange stripe here. Doesn't matter. Oh, what I would like to do though, what I don't like with this is, all right, let's go back here and we're gonna save the view so we don't lose it. This is almost south, I think. It's not really east. Okay. Or is it? I think it's south. Anyway, we can also check it. No, it's actually east. It's the east view. Isometric, if I would do east, no, there's no east. This is strange. East. It's the east view. So that's our view, but I want to see the contour lines and I want to see the model behind. And I don't want to see this. So maybe I zoom out a bit. So that's now my new view. East, number 2. All right, that's better. Viewport, capture, clipboard. Scale is ×3, so I have a more resolution, and I can place, yes, clipboard and place. So now we're here. Hope you can see everything. I hope I'm recording actually. Yeah, I'm recording. All right, so again, I use just a very simple pad. I have my stylus. The first thing I do, again, I just place over a white, fill with white. Normally what I do is here I start as a base, and sometimes it becomes messy and it becomes a sketch. I don't try to have too thick lines at the beginning. 4 is kind of almost like a maximum. You can draw straight lines, straight sections by just placing a point, and then with shift you can create straight sections, just placing a point. That's very useful, especially if you have to draw circles and you have kind of a shivery, if you're shivering, or then there's smoothing. I always add a bit of smoothing. That helps sometimes for curves especially. But yeah, at this stage I'm gonna be much more, I don't care too much. Here we know these roads, they are not very good roads. I will draw the massing a bit just so we get a feeling of what's there. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it will add a bit of dynamic to the sketch, not be too strict with, if the line's a bit off, you can always adjust, but don't adjust too much. It's not necessary. Nobody will look at it. But yeah, at the moment I'm just drawing straight sections. I like to do that for the architecture. And there is a road here. There's another road. Another dirt road is here. We can always turn off the thing so we can see more. Turn off layers if we need to. Yeah, so that's our site. By the way, I suggested to have terracing on the site. There are a lot of different ways to farm on a slope. Terracing, it feels like it's still one of the better options because it maximizes the space. It maximizes the space. It also helps to prevent erosion a bit more than other techniques, but it's more expensive. So there's gonna be different ways in it, but I will stick now with the terracing. I think it's a good option. Now the biggest problem is the architecture because I don't know yet. Yes, I have a base. I have my outline. I should draw this in, and I should also draw in my contour lines. I will put this on a different layer. Again, it's not about being super exact. The model itself is not 100% exact, so don't worry about that. It's never gonna be exactly on a millimeter. I can remember we had a colleague who got frustrated. It's quite a long time ago. When he left the studio, he said something like, which is still, I remember still, don't always work on the millimeter exact. Which I find it was so true, especially on bigger master plans. Don't work in millimeter. That's why we have different scales, to use it in different ways. So it's not exact. Of course, the more we learn about the space, the more exact it's going to be. But now we can turn this on. Now we have our contours. And yeah, now you say, but the contours lines they are normally dashed. Yes, I can do that as well. Normally just do this like this in Photoshop. And now, of course, I'm lucky. I have already a bit of a structure below that helps. But it's not about just to copy this whole thing. It's also to think more about the levels, because now you can see that I was drawing straight areas where there's actually a slope. And we need to think about it, because it might be that we need to elongate this more along the contour lines rather than in the direction of the fall of the slope. All right, so we can also then always remember which layer you're working on, because it will sometimes you just then continue with the wrong layer and then you have lines on the layer you don't want them to be. Okay, I think I cut something here a bit, but yeah, we'll deal with this. So make this even more faint. That's the best way to work on it. Now I sketch over. I'll just sketch over, thinking of what could that be. I might take some inspiration from this. What did they do? Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it's a starting point. And yeah, don't worry about too much, but don't spend too much time either. So this is all a bit shifted, probably. Shifted. Think of what you actually see in front and what you don't see. And we saw that the person is roughly like this, so it's gonna be twice twice as tall as a person probably. We need to push it a bit further. The question is that too big or not? Do they have different heights? That's the question also. So I'm, for example, now starting to think already, okay, this could become really steep. Should this not be more like, you know, like this? We need some retaining wall here probably. Can be a dry wall, a dry stone wall. Maybe it's like this, and then it continues like this. It's 1 meter difference. So the walls don't have to be so big. Don't have to be so tall actually, because yeah, maybe this is hugging that space a bit. With space, you can just shift the stuff around, so you don't need to use your mouse. I'm also like drawing some massing in here, so just gives you an understanding that this path needs to also overcome the height difference. So there might be some wall necessary. And we're talking about dry walls, dry retaining walls that can be built. I built a wall like this already in my parents' garden, and my mom is building these walls on her own, so it's possible. These actually built with, I don't know, I think they're using some sand sacks and stuff. Probably also some stones involved, but yeah, they probably use whatever they have at their disposal or whatever they have at the moment. I think I remember that they're using some rice terrace construction. Let's see. Yeah, they also have stone. They also use stone walls. I mean, it's very common. It's not just rice terraces. There's also like in Greece, in the olive industry, you have a lot of farms on a steep slope with like terraced land, and they're all made with stones. It's tricky if there's no stones, of course. Then what are you gonna use? All right, we just continue. I think you get the point. So this might need to look like this somehow. Maybe this screen here doesn't really exist because we have the wall. So this becomes almost like a lookout point. Here I actually drew more terraces. Maybe it's needed, I don't know. But let's just go with one. This also doesn't work probably. If we have this wall here, then it's probably better to this shifts up here. This thing here shifts up, and it's kind of hugging. The wall is hugging it a bit, and we need to have more frequent walls here because it's steeper. So if this road is hugging that space here, it might also hug it here. It's not so steep, so that means maybe it's not necessary to do this, but I think just try to explain that the plan sketch is not the last word. It's not the last version of everything. Here I think it's okay. We have this, and here it's more loose because this is just for the livestock. And here needs to be flat again, so maybe there needs to be one wall here, and this becomes flat. It's a question if we keep this wall continuing for the sake of the trees. Might be good, but yeah, we don't have to. It's probably okay. It's a bit misleading, this kink here. This is actually it's the outline of the plot. It looks steeper than here, but it's actually not. It's the same steepness. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so there's also a drop here, so this is actually higher than in the back. I'm not suggesting internal slopes, but there might be something we need to consider. The question is also, does every of these circles have his own little skylight or like a mini courtyard? Not sure. Yeah, we cut a bit here too much, but it's fine. We need some sort of we need to have a slope on the roof because there's gonna be a lot of water. It's got a lot of rain coming down. With Ctrl 0, you can always zoom out to the full page. Okay, that gives me already a bit of a better understanding of how it might look like. call this the first sketch, or sketch, just sketch. And now I can be a bit more precise. This is where I probably also look at more reference images. Actually, not the Hocker noodles. Sorry, the Hocker. So this is also very interesting. It also reminds me of this really a bit. The Hakka architecture. I'm looking for the facade articulation, really, because it could be closed, but it could be also partly open at some point, where you actually have a kind of a roof, or a slightly overhang maybe. And here you have a drop, because we have the retaining wall here. So you can see now we're getting already into way more interesting stuff. We need a sloped roof because there's a lot of rain. But yeah, it's a question if this is open, maybe. Could be nice, could be really cool if this is open. Have its own little courtyard, each of these units. And inside there could be a bit more, it could be even a bit more open. So, and maybe it's way too big. We might need to make it way smaller. What I don't like with this is that we separate this building from this axis here. So, you know, now we're starting to think, does this make actually sense to do it like this? Should this not be here, maybe, instead? Could be. Maybe that's better position. What's also good when you do this sketching exercise, then you also realize that you can simplify. Then you think about how to draw certain geometry, but you also realize how you can simplify it. So, for example, these walls, it's always like this L shape. It's kind of hugging the space below. Okay, we said we want to have a big tree here. Now I'm thinking this is also really a nice place. We should have a tree here. We should have a tree here. We want to shield this a bit. We want to have a tree here. These are my gathering areas. I think there was the biogas station. We'll see if it can stay there. I don't know. We have water. Maybe this wall becomes more articulated here, so we have more space for the ponds. Ideally, we have trees here, because for the kids, you know, the shade. Tree is always nice. I mean, every tree is always great for kids. When I was a kid, I spent every time I had free time, I was in the forest. I just loved the forest. Doesn't matter if it's raining or. I mean, one question would be, of course, if the interval of the walls need to be exactly at the contour line. Probably not. Maybe we need more. Maybe there's a different interval or less. This is something we will realize when we actually model the space. Because ideally we want to have at least earth movement as possible. But yeah, you can already imagine something a bit more, I guess. The sketching is really a thinking process, and I think it's one of the best ways to get to know a site, especially if you have, the bigger it becomes, the more important it is that you understand how to work with it, and also simplifying it helps. I think I'll leave it with here. Now, again, I'm gonna draw over, because now I have established quite a lot. I will remove the sketch below, and now I'm actually drawing the lines. go very faint here again.